So you've only got 10 years left until your retirement. What should you be doing to prepare? Well, today I'm going to tell you the 10 things you're going to want to do to prepare for a successful retirement. My name is Meikle, the co-founder of Scenic Financial. I specialize in helping school district employees in Washington State build better financial lives. If you want more content like this, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified when I post new videos every week. Also, if you want to build yourself a tax-free retirement, check out my masterclass, and the link is in the description. All right, so in your last 10 years of working, what should you be doing? Here are the 10 things. Number one is you want to make sure you have a budget for your household. So you should be able to account for all of your income and all of your expenses, as well as what income and expenses should be in the future. So budget is really important. I can't tell you how many times when I meet with somebody, I ask them, what do you take home? What do you spend? What's left over? They have no idea where the money goes. A lot of times it just comes in and they spend what they make and they have no idea what they spend on this, or one spouse knows, the other one doesn't. You want to make sure you get on the same page. Have a budget. Know how much money is going where. And if you know your budget, you notice we have things that we're not really using, such as, hey, maybe we have a subscription to Hulu and we don't watch Hulu or Netflix. Consider cutting it. You'd be surprised when you review your budget and where money goes, and you can really think, do I really need to be spending money on this, or can I do without it? Have you even used it really recently? So getting a budget is very important. And that kind of leads into step number two, is that getting an actual written financial plan built. Now I say written because you should be able to hold it in your hand and not just some rough idea of how it's going to work. A lot of people have different accounts and they kind of have an idea of, I can get this amount of money from here or I have this money here. But you want to have a plan that tells you when every dollar is going to come in, how long it's going to last for, how it's going to grow, how it's going to be taxed, when is it going to stop. You want to know all of these things, and that's what a financial plan does for you. And it's really the foundation for any successful retirement, because once you have a plan in place, the future becomes a lot less scary and complicated. The third thing you want to do is look over your investments and consider taking some of the risk off the table. You want to start dialing back to protect what you already have. You're starting to get closer to retirement, and the last 10 years is what we refer to as basically the red zone, and the last thing you want to do is fumble in the red zone. So make sure you're protecting what you already have to a degree, so if something were to happen, you don't stand to lose too much money should the market turn sour, because you may not have the time to make it back up again in those last 10 years. The fourth thing you should be doing in your last 10 years is paying off any high interest debt you still have. Now I say high interest, so don't care about your mortgage really as long as it's under 5%. Don't care about your cars really, because that's usually under 5% too. I want high interest. 7, 8%, 10, 15, 20%. So things like credit cards, student loans, if they're really high interest, things of that nature, that's what you should be focusing on getting rid of in those last 10 years, because it's going to help your budget in retirement so much more when you don't have to make payments on things. Now, paying off your house and car is also a good idea, but in today's low interest rate environment, it may not make a lot of sense to take all your liquid cash and stick it in an investment to save 2 or 3% a year, and then it becomes illiquid. You can't get that money out should you need it for income in the future. So focus on paying high interest debt. The fifth thing you should be doing is starting to save more. As long as you have all your debt for the most part paid off, you should start thinking about increasing your savings. Because in your last 10 years, if you get paid monthly, it's only 120 paychecks until you're retired. That's all you have left. And every month that goes by, it's one less paycheck you can do something with. So make sure you take advantage of the time you have left, even though it may be short, and start saving more. Look at your budget that you did in step one. Do I have any money left over that I could be putting somewhere and earning me more growth? Now 15% is often the number that gets thrown around as far as how much you should be saving per year, per month. Now that may be great, but if you can save more, do it. There's no one that I've ever met that's told me they had too much money saved for their retirement. I mean, if you can save more, save more. If you can save 20 or 25%, then do it. You'll be thanking yourself later. Step number 6 kind of ties into step number 5, and that saving more is great, but you also want to make sure you have some tax diversification going on. So if you haven't yet set up a tax-free retirement, such as a Roth IRA or Roth 403b, now is a great time to do that. Start putting money to work and start making it earn you some tax-free growth, so in the future you can have a spot to pull money off of where you don't have to worry about paying taxes on. It can make retirement so much easier when you have this type of account set up for you, so avoid all the different tax traps that those pre-tax accounts have in them. Step number 7 is now is about the time you're going to start shopping around for some kind of long-term care coverage. Now, it doesn't have to be long-term care insurance per se. In fact, I'm really not a big fan of long-term care insurance in the traditional sense. There's some other type of long-term care things that may work better than those traditional long-term care plans, but shopping around for it now can save you a whole lot more money down the road. Now, I know long-term care isn't cheap. It's going to cost a couple $100 a month at least, but if you think of it, it's going to save you down the road when you have to pay, $5,000 to $6,000 a month for that coverage. So even though it may seem like it's a big expense and you may not need it, the stats today show 70% of people retiring are going to need some kind of long-term care coverage in the future. 70%. So that's pretty high. If someone told you had a 70% chance of running out of money, you definitely would rethink of retiring, right? So if I'm telling you that there's a 70% chance you're going to need some kind of long-term care costs or have to pay $5,000 to $6,000, if not more, per month for this care, you're going to want to take those words seriously and actually start looking to getting some kind of plan in place. Now, long-term care, it is expensive, and I get it, and you should be saving for retirement maybe above and beyond because it's income first and long-term care second if you can afford it. So that's something that should be answered in step number 2 when you do your financial plan. Can I actually afford long-term care? Do I need it? Obviously, I would always recommend getting it, but only if it makes sense you can financially afford it, both now and in retirement. Because adding a couple $100 a month to your budget may not work out in the long term, so you may not be able to afford it during your retirement years. So long-term care is something you definitely should consider and look into now before prices keep going up. So the 8th thing you could be doing in your last 10 years of retirement is looking to invest in a place that's going to give you some kind of guaranteed income. And the only place to find that is an income annuity. So for this, you need money that's not tied up in anything. So not your emergency funds, not your Plan 3 or 403B. This is if you had some sort of liquid money set up on the side. I know most people don't, but if you do, now it could be a very good time to actually put it into that type of annuity. Why? Because the sooner it goes into an income annuity, the sooner it can start growing. So these income annuities often have a guaranteed return on them for your income benefit. So it's not actually your cash growing, it's how much income you can get off it in the future. So these things grow at 8 to 9% per year. And then when you actually go to retire, you can potentially get a much higher guaranteed income stream at that time than if you were to wait until retirement to use that. So step number 9 is more about protecting yourselves. And that's like having things set up in a trust or having a will set up. So when you pass away, people know where all your assets are going to go. A trust is designed to protect your assets from creditors. So one personal example is, say down the road you need some kind of long-term care and you actually qualify for Medicaid. So that's when the state actually foots the bill for the long-term medical costs. Now, a lot of people think it's a free ride, but it's often not. After you pass away, they come back to your estate and they will usually foot you the bill. If you have a home left to your wife, they could place a lien on that home. So, but if that home is in a trust, they can't do that because technically you don't own the home anymore, the trust owns it. So having a trust or will as you go into retirement is also an important thing to have. So step number 10 is making sure you have your liability coverages up to date and making sure they're where they need to be. So when you look at your home and even car insurance, now is the time you really want to look at them and see what is actually covered. You want to make sure you have enough liability protection. Don't go into retirement with the minimum amount of liability insurance that you can get away with. Because God forbid you got into an accident with a lawyer and they have to take you to court and you're, say, 75, who's the court going to side with for the at-fault driver? The 75-year-old guy or the 40-year-old lawyer? So you want to make sure you have these protections in place. So one smart move is looking into getting an umbrella policy. An umbrella policy is something you can get from any insurance company. And basically, it covers both your home and your car under one shell. So most people just get like $1 million and it's $1 million liability to either or. So it's kind of a cheap way to buy a second layer of insurance protection for either side. So that's something you might want to look at in those last 10 years as well. As you get to your peak earning years and you have all of your assets there that are basically going to be sitting ducks if you don't take the proper steps to protect them. I hope you found that video very helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet so you don't miss future videos like this one. And I'll see you guys next week. And remember that your future depends on what you do today.